Hello and welcome to Benue Television News at 9. My name is Mercy Upa. The headlines. President Bola Tinubu urges Nigerians to be patient with his administration. Federal government says it spends $600 million on fuel importation monthly. And from the foreign scene, Russia accuses Ukraine of opening second front in Africa. A one-day retreat for governing boards of tertiary institutions in Benue State has charged participants to actively engage stakeholders towards upgrading the standard of tertiary education in the state. The Commissioner for Education and Knowledge Management, Dr. Frederick Kian, gives the charge Tuesday during a one-day retreat for newly inaugurated
Chairmen and members of the Governing Council of Benue State-owned tertiary institutions were inaugurated on July 19, 2024 at Government House, Makurdi by Governor Hyacinth Alia, several days after a one-day retreat for the newly inaugurated chairmen and members of the Governing Councils and heads of institutions is taking place at the instance of the Commissioner for Education and Knowledge Management, Reverend Dr. Frederick Ikan, tagged Setting Agenda for Harmonious and Efficient Administration in our tertiary institutions. Dr. Ikan explains that the retreat has become necessary to help all those involved in managing the education sector at the highest level in the state to better understand their roles for optimal performance. According to the Commissioner, it is important for members of the Governing Council to work together with their institution's management to introduce innovations and reinforce accountability. Hopes the move will not only regain confidence in the standard of living in tertiary institutions, but build a viable education industry in line with Governor Hyacinth Alia's vision in the sector.
For too long, the councils of our tertiary institutions have been entangled in the politics of patronage and settlements, leading to a culture of entitlement that has hindered our progress. However, under the visionary leadership of the Governor of Benue State, His Excellency Reverend Father Dr. Hyacinth Alia, we are witnessing a remarkable shift, and this change is characterized by a renewed focus on value addition in public service, underpinned by a high sense of responsibility, probity, and accountability.
Vice Chancellor of Benue State University, Professor Joy Rapo, represented by Professor Mike Odugbo, says the retreat is timely and will facilitate maximum performance if knowledge acquired during the retreat is put practice.
We are delighted to have you to be here. Honorable Commissioner, sir, thank you for considering once more Benue State University space for this very important meeting. We hope that 247 this space will always be there for you, sir.
A retired Director of Ministry of Education, Mr. Godwin Awai, presented a paper on role of governing councils in funding and enhancing productivity, while a former member of Benue State University Governing Council, Dr. Andrew Ame, presents another one on blending public service roles with operations of governing council. Both speakers encouraged participants to develop workable plans and to make use of public service rules for effective delivery.
You do the strategic plan, then you also have within it a communications plan. For most of the times you take for granted some of these things. Your institution should communicate with the whole world. You should have a plan for that communication. You communicate within yourself in the organization.
For the governing council to be able to effectively carry out its roles, its management of the institution has to be based on the public service rules and the conditions of service of the institutions concerned. This explains why the Honorable Commissioner, Minister of Education and Knowledge Management has considered it necessary to choose this topic for purpose of drawing the attention of the chairmen and members of the governing council to their responsibilities that lie ahead if they must effectively and efficiently deliver on the mandate.
Some governing council's members, Dr. Martin Sagena and Dr. Shimenenge Atime, described the retreat as inspiring and informative.
We will have to visit the site, then get acquainted with their problems, and then we'll know how to plan. Because we'll have to identify their problems before we plan how to help them. Because our mission is actually to put the place in shape and then see how we can make good contributions to lift the institution to a better level.
Very, very beneficial. In as much as what we know, someone else may not know sufficiently enough. So this has enabled us has reminded us of our respective responsibilities in discharging the mandate being invested of us. The chairman and council members, they need to know what is expected of them, and then the management as well should know what is expected of them. So putting us together for retreat, I think is a welcome development, and it's quite good for efficient running of the tertiary institutions.
The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Knowledge Management, Mr. Agbo Ochekpe, encouraged the participants to put in their best to drive a viable education sector for Benue State. Manasseh Anongachia, Benue Television News, Makudi. Chairman and members of the Governing Council.
Chairman of Public Health Physicians, Benue State, Dr. Teka Bitu, has advocated for the need for crèches in public workplaces to support breastfeeding mothers. This was made known Tuesday when he featured on Benue Television live program Talk Health. Iwange Baja has the report.
August 1st to 7, 2024 is marked as World Breastfeeding Week, with the theme Closing the Gap, Breastfeeding Support for All, underscores the collective responsibility to embrace and support breastfeeding mothers through diverse and comprehensive measures and policies. Guest on Talk Health, Dr. Teka Bitu, stressed the need for exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of a child's life.
Breastfeeding is very critical and is the foundation of nutrition of the entire nation. The children's nutrition is suboptimal without breastfeeding. Put differently, without breastfeeding, we can't have a nation because our children won't grow well, our adults won't have appropriate mentation, and they won't perform well. To ensure that the child is breastfed exclusively for the first 6 months of life, given that breastfeeding is the best form of food for the child between 0 to 6 months.
Bitu also mentioned that new babies be put to breast within the first hour of delivery, outlining the benefits of breastfeeding.
And right from birth, the baby should be put to the breast within an hour of birth, except maybe the mother had a surgery or is under anesthesia and she's not fully alert. Otherwise, within an hour of birth, the child should be put to the breast and start sucking. Because when the child starts sucking, then more milk is produced. And even the early part of milk provided, I know there are some myths about, that we throw away the first, but no, that first milk called colostrum is very rich for the child to fight infections. Yes.
He added the kind of support that should be given to breastfeeding mothers. Iwange Baja, Benue Television News, Makudi.
The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has revealed that the country currently spends $600 million on foreign importation monthly. Edun said that the high import bill is due to neighboring countries up to the Central Africa benefiting from the country's fuel imports. The minister stated this during an interview with newsmen. He explained that the situation was the reason President Bola Tinubu removed fuel subsidy, as the country does not know the exact amount of fuel consumed internally. He said that the nation must take a decisive step to tackle the problem as it impeds economic growth. Edun also clarified that the recent decision to raise the maximum borrowing percentage in the Ways and Means from 5 to 10% does not imply that the federal government tends to rely on the Central Bank of Nigeria financing, describing the approval by the National Assembly as a full safe measure. The minister also said the welfare of Nigerians remained a key priority for the current administration, particularly ensuring food availability and affordability. He He assured that measures adopted by the administration would not undermine local farmers, as importation would only be permitted after exhausting local supplies. According to a report by the National Bureau of Statistics, the country's petrol import was reduced to an average of 1 billion litres monthly after President Bola Tinubu removed the fuel subsidy on May 29, 2024. The Minister of Defense, Mohamed Badaru, has charged Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, Chiefs of Defense Staff to develop new military strategies and coordinate regional security that will ensure peace and stability in the sub-region. He also charged them to develop strategies that will effectively respond to emerging threats in the continent. Badaru said this while delivering a speech at the 42nd meeting of ECOWAS Chiefs of Defense Staff in Abuja. He said their military knowledge and strategic foresight are crucial to ending insecurity in the sub-region and the entire African continent. The minister urged the committee to expedite a reference with 2 contributing countries towards the deployment of the ECOWAS stabilization mission in Sierra Leone and operationalization of the regional standby force for counter-terrorism, as well as the ongoing peace support operation in the Gambia, South and other sister countries. Bada recommended the committee for coming up with a project document on the modalities for utilizing the internal, financial, human and material resources for the deployment of the region counter-terrorism force. Benue Television News at 9. We'll now go for a break. When we return, we'll bring you more updates. Please stay with us. Welcome back from that break. You're still watching Benue Television News at 9. President Bola Tinubu has pleaded with Nigerians to be patient with his administration, assuring that the country is transitioning from darkness to dawn. In an official video released by the State House on Wednesday, Tinubu acknowledged the ongoing hardship that is currently being experienced, orchestrated by the removal of the fuel subsidy and the floating of the naira. He noted that Nigerians' pain was compounded by what he described as an unavoidable lag between the subsidy removal and his helpful plans for the country. He restated his commitments to fulfilling his administration's promise to make education more affordable to all and provide loans to higher education students who may need them. The president assured that the measures his government has taken would get the country out of the lingering economic crisis. This address marks the second time Tinubu has addressed Nigerians since the beginning of the End Bad Governance in Nigeria protests. The protests turned violent in some states, including Kano, Abuja and Kaduna, where demonstrators believed to be infiltrators were seen waving Russian flags and calling for an unconstitutional change of government. Nigerian Army has confirmed the killing of a protester in Zaria, Kaduna State. Army spokesperson Major General Oyema Wajuku made this confirmation in a statement on Wednesday. He said the unfortunate incident happened when troops were mobilized to disperse a mob and enforce the curfew imposed by the state government in Samaru, a suburb of Zaria. Wajuku said on arrival at the scene, the hoodlums brazenly attempted attacking the troops, prompting a soldier to fire a warning shot to scare the hoodlums away, which unfortunately led to the death of a 16-year-old boy, Ismail Mohammed. He revealed that the soldier involved has since been arrested and is undergoing interrogation. Nwachukwu said the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tyrud Lagbaja, had sent a high-power delegation led by the General Officer Commanding 1 Division, Major General Landar Sarasu, to visit and condole with the family of the deceased. He said the deceased has been buried according to Islamic rites, with senior military officers of the Nigerian Army in attendance. Still on the Nigerian Army, which has destroyed several illegal refining sites in Rivers and Bayelsa states, the Army said the destruction was done during an operation by troops of the Land Component Joint Task Force South-South Operation Delta Safe. Acting Deputy Director, 6th Division Army Public Relations, Lieutenant Colonel Jonah Danjumal, disclosed this in a statement on Wednesday in Port Harcourt. Danjuma said the feat is the outcome of a renewed vehicle aimed at reducing the activities of people he described as notorious illegal oil bunkering merchants in the Niger Delta region. He disclosed that the Army has effectively scaled up operations against these criminal elements in the region to increase oil production in the oil and gas-rich region. Stay with us. We'll go for a break. When we return, we'll be joining the foreign scene for more updates. We'll be back. On the foreign scene, Russia has accused Ukraine of opening a second front in the war between them in Africa after Mali and Niger broke off diplomatic relations with Kyiv, accusing it of supporting terrorist groups. The claim by Moscow followed an announcement from Nigeria's military government that it has cut ties with Ukraine. Several states in West Africa have recently ditched alongside ties with the West, turning to Russia. The move was in line with that of neighboring Malian military government, which on Sunday announced it was severing relations with Kyiv over its role in the attack in the north of the country, in which Tuareg rebels said they killed dozens of Wagner mercenaries and Malian soldiers. Spokesperson for Ukraine's military spy agency, Andriy Yusuf, said that the Malian rebels had received the necessary information to conduct the operation. Spokesperson for Nigeria's military government, Amadou Abdrahmane, said Niger will ask the United Nations Security Council to debate Ukraine's aggression. Recall that Ukraine described Mali's decision to sever relations as short-sighted and hasty, saying Kyiv rejected the allegation of Ukrainian support for international terrorism. Ukraine did not immediately respond about the move by Niger. Niger and Mali are both run by military governments that took power in recent coup. Both have since ripped off different defense agreements with France and turned to Russia for military support. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova said, unable to defeat Russia on the battlefield, the regime of President Volodymyr Zelensky has opened a second front in Africa. Meanwhile, the spate is viewed as a significant hit to Ukraine's efforts to win global support as it defends itself against Russia's invasion and in particular to broaden its appeal in the global south. 2 people have been killed in Kyiv, Germany, after a hotel building partially collapsed, while several others remaining trapped under the rubble. Rescue operations are ongoing with more than 200 emergency services personnel at the scene. Located near the banks of the river Moselle, the hotel's roof collapsed, shattering windows as at the top floor of the building collapsed onto the lower floor. According to local police, 14 people were inside the hotel at the time of the incident. In a news conference on Wednesday, Fire Inspector Jarek Tusik identified 2 people killed as a man and a woman, who he said died as a direct result of the building collapse. Some 250 emergency services personnel were deployed to support rescue efforts, including firefighters, police, rescue dog teams, and medics. According to reports, the damaged building in Western Germany dates back to the 16th. It experienced significant renovations back in the 1980s when an additional floor was added to the now 2-story hotel. Nearby residents have been told to evacuate the area given concerns that the hotel building could collapse further. The Moselle Valley is a popular tourist destination famed for its vineyards and picturesque old towns. Bangladesh Nobel laureate Mohammed Yunus will head the country's interim government after former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina stepped down and fled the country amid a mass uprising against her rule, led mostly by students. The announcement on Wednesday came from the press secretary of President Mohammed Shahabuddin Junal Abedin. Abedin also said other members of the Yunus-led government would be decided soon after decisions with political parties and other stakeholders. The leaders of the students' protest, the chiefs of the country's 3 divisions of the military, and civil society members, as well as some business leaders, held a meeting with the president for more than 5 hours on Tuesday to decide on the head of the interim administration. The student had earlier proposed Yunus, saying the 83-year-old microfinance pioneer had agreed. Following the decision, student leaders left the president's official house satisfied and welcoming the decision. Yunus is a well-known critic and political opponent of former Prime Minister Hosseini, calling her resignation the country's second liberation day. An economist and banker by profession, Yunus was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006 for pioneering the use of microcredit to help impoverished people, particularly women. He ran into trouble with Hosseini in 2008 when her administration launched a series of investigations into him. During the investigations, Hosseini accused Yunus of using force and other means to recover loans from poor rural women as head of Crimean Bank. Yunus denied the allegations. And that's all of our package this morning. But before we go, here's a recap of the main stories. President Bola Tinubu has urged Nigerians to be patient with his administration. Federal government has said it spent $600 million on fuel importation monthly, and from the foreign scene, Russia has accused Ukraine of opening second front in Africa. My name is Mercy Upa. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.